get a new superintendent every year, it just really became so this big problem. But every time we stuck it out, even when we didn't have the funding, we're still here. And I think it's so weird because when I look around, like the last standing frog in the pond, every time I think that it's going to get better, something happens, but we're still here. And that goes, it speaks to the testament of the people in this community that really want this type of collaborative to work. And so I'm working my 10 years at it, and we're still here. So I'm happy that I get to see most of you still around the table for our new faces. And again, going forward, we really need to look at initiatives that we want to handle and kind of push those. And each initiative, after we have completed it, we move on to the next. I don't want to get just stagnated and just doing one or two things. Let's really be a working collaborative and see some of our goals be obtained. With that said, I want to turn over the floor to Mr. Swazi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
I appreciate it. You know, maybe I'll just come stand over here so you're not looking at this window because it's so bright over here. I just want to say that what you're doing is the key to everything. And it's hard to get it going, it's hard to get it off the ground. This is the key to everything that needs to happen to try and serve people. The biggest problem with every big organization, and government is a big organization, and all the not-for-profits out there separate are big organizations. The biggest problem is what I call interoperability. People to work across their little place to all solve the same problem. So I give the example of September 11th of 2001, when the great fire department showed up, and the great police department showed up, and the great EMS showed up at the Twin Towers, but they couldn't talk on their radios with each other. The radios were not interoperable, and a bunch of people died because they got caught in the buildings because they couldn't communicate with each other. And then when you look behind that, you saw the CIA was not talking to the FBI, was not talking to the Immigration Services, was not talking to the Federal Aviation Administration. They were not interoperable with each other. So we have that same problem here locally. When I was in office, we tried to get the government agencies of social services, health, mental health, veterans, seniors, youth, physically challenged, and drug and alcohol, the 8 health and human service agencies, to be interoperable with each other, to work together with each other through the idea of what we call no wrong door. There used to be 8 separate agencies, 5 different locations, and you go here for a welfare application, or here for a Medicaid application, or here for a mental health thing, or here for a veteran, and they were not working together. When really the same problems affected the same population from all these different 8 sources. So we try to get them to do no wrong door, where if you walked in, you were accessing everybody at once, instead of having to go to all these different locations. And the example I always gave was of the man, senior citizen, was wandering around disoriented at the train station. He was homeless, and the cops picked him up. And in the old days, we would pick him up and we'd put him in, give him a housing voucher, and he'd go into a hotel somewhere, like a courtesy hotel in West Hampton or something, and they'd warehouse him there. It would cost us a couple $1,000s a month, and wouldn't really do anything for him. But under a thing we call a case of the week, which is what I would recommend to you guys, where you just work on one case, and you see how you could all, what can each of you do with that one case to figure out, start setting up paths as to how you can help each other with that one case. If you did a case of the week each time you met, or a case in the month each time you met, it would see what can we do together to help this person. If you think about how you can collaborate with each other in specific examples. And then after a while, it becomes natural for you to do it. You'd be doing 10 cases a week, 20 cases a week. But with this man, we said, all right, we're going to interview him. They interviewed him. They found out his wife had just died, and he was depressed. So then I said, okay, we have a man who's depressed, and he's homeless, and he's a senior. Let's get him mental health counseling. So the mental health counselors came in, they started interviewing him some more. They found out he was a Korean War combat veteran, and he had post-traumatic stress disorder that had never been diagnosed from the 1950s. So now you have a senior citizen, a veteran, homeless, with a mental health issue. You'd like jackpot of every social service you can get in the world. So instead, we got a housing choice voucher for him instead of us using he gets moved up on the priority list for Section 8. He's a veteran, he's homeless, he's senior, and mental health. And so we found housing for him. He had housing near a senior citizen center, so he could go to the senior citizen center each day for lunch and get socialized a little bit. And he had mental health counseling, and he had veterans benefits. So this guy would save the county money because we weren't spending those thousands of dollars a month in the hotel, and we actually helped the person in the process. So the idea of no wrong door is, how do you work together to actually save money and actually help people to get beyond their circumstances? So now I've moved beyond that, and I want to go to the next level, which is the most exciting thing that I want to do, which came out of our plan in the Roosevelt School District, and the lessons I've learned from that. And the idea is that you have Health and Human Services over here, so they're not interoperable amongst themselves, but they're really not interoperable with another world over here, which is law enforcement. 75% of people in jail have drug, alcohol, or mental health problems. We're supposed to be dealing with drug, alcohol, and mental health over here in Health and Human Services, but over here in police and jails and DAs and corrections and probation and all that, 75% of people caught up in the law enforcement system have a drug, alcohol, or mental health problem. So these two worlds are not very interoperable. They're not interoperable within their own world, but they're not interoperable across worlds. Then out here in Long Island, we have another separate world, completely separate world. It's called education. And that's where the key to everything is. In third grade, everybody's test scores in the rich school districts and in the high-risk school districts, low-income school districts, are about the same. Test scores are about the same in third grade. But by 8th grade, you see that in grade 9, the scores are going up, and in Roosevelt, the scores are going down. So something's happened from 3rd to 8th grade. We all know from our personal experiences, people go through puberty, they go through adolescence, their problems at home start to manifest themselves, and all the things that end up with drug, alcohol, and mental health problems later on in life are starting to show up in that 3rd to 8th grade period, and then get full-fledged in high school, and drop out of high school, and they have your problems, and end up getting caught up in the law enforcement system. So we need to figure out how can we address the problems for these children that are getting left behind in our failing school districts or our troubled school districts. We see at Hempstead now, they have a 38% graduation rate. Roosevelt still has this big challenge. The challenge that exists is that we're spending the same amount of money per student in Roosevelt as we are in other school districts. Same amount per student. The problem is the same amount per student in the wealthier school district as in Roosevelt. You have the same resources. You have one guidance counselor, one school psychologist, and one social worker in every building. Okay. The problem is the wealthier school district, 10% of kids have need of those services, and they have private health insurance and other support services coming from home. And in the Roosevelt School District, 70% of the kids have those problems. 75% of the kids have those problems that they're bringing from home, whether it's drugs, alcohol, mental health, poverty, domestic violence, foster care, this, that, and whatever it may be. And there's no way that with those same resources that the school district can ever possibly address that volume of problems. It becomes normal to see a kid with a big problem, falling asleep in the hallway of the school. So how do we address the problem that 3rd grade kid or that kindergarten kid or that 1st grade kid, so much promise, they're so happy, they're painting, they're drawing, they're having so much fun, and all of a sudden something's going on. They're falling asleep in class, they're getting in a fight with another kid, their grades are dropping off, they're not showing up for class, their clothes are dirty. Something's happening in that kid's life that you see something happening, and the school district doesn't have the resources to address it. What we need to figure out how to do, and what I want to help do if I'm the county executive, similar to what we did with Roosevelt, is say the school district, through a vehicle like a family support center, will identify the children that have needs. The school district can't do it all themselves. They don't have the resources. They identify what the problems are. They say this kid, that kid, they need special attention. Then we go to the outside world, which is you, and then there's more people than just you who aren't coming to these meetings, that are not-for-profit agencies, and say, how do we bring them into the school district? So you actually say, all right, I'll take that kid, or I'll take those 3 kids, or those 5 kids, those 10 kids, depending on the size of your region, and I'll be that person's caseworker. And we'll find out what's going on with that child. And I may not have the resources in my agency, but I know how to find the resources in other agencies, whether from the government or from another not-for-profit. I'll help you navigate the system, and I'll help identify the services that exist out there from this whole world that is Health and Human Services. And what happened in Roosevelt?
When you used to talk about food downtown, because I've lived in Roosevelt for 45 years, and we've never had food downtown. I mean, since when I was a child, there was a food downtown. But with the influx of the economies that have come in, now it's not food downtown. But when I talk to politicians, I always ask them, I'm always interested, when you look at downtowns like this, do you ever say, well, there's an initiative that needs to go on that, even though you say competitive, when you look at a place like Roosevelt, do we need to be competitive, or should it be an initiative that says, I look at this.
Well, I tried an initiative in Roosevelt. I actually, when Richard Guardino was the town supervisor and I was the county executive, I put up the money to do a visioning process, to get a vision for what could happen in downtown here. And they weren't really into it, and I would push it, but you had to do it. And we redid the roadway, and put the nice, the brick paver type of things, and try to slow the traffic down a little bit. And they put the lighting up, and we got the Pink Elephant building redeveloped with the help of the hospital, and we helped bring Bethpage Federal Credit Union, and we made it look a little bit. But this has got a long way to go. A lot of what's wrong with Long Island and what's wrong with Nassau County is the zoning. Okay, Nassau Road should not be half commercial, half residential, half. It doesn't know what it is. It's confused. Okay, you don't have the train station. You have the train station down Freeport. You really should build more up. We should build apartment buildings down by the train station, not up by on Nassau Road. But instead of coming along all of Nassau Road the way it is now, where people drive through, when they drive through, you have a very. What I used to say about Roosevelt is, the people who live in Roosevelt, for the most part, go to work every day, and go to church on Sunday. They take care of their lawns. We're living in suburbia, and they're trying to live the suburban life like everybody else. But for everybody who drives through, they drive down the commercial strip and they say, "Oh, what a dump that place is." Who wants to live in that place? That's where all black people live. So we have to fix up this strip so that it actually enhances the image of the community, but at the same time also creates a place for people to gather. So instead of it being all of Nassau Road, what I think should happen, but I don't control the zoning, the town controls the zoning, so this would be very hard to make happen unless you develop power as an interagency council, is to consolidate and develop the commercial part of Nassau Road up by the Western Beef area. Because you already have the commercial development, you already have Western Beef and McDonald's and Bethpage Federal Credit Union and some of the bodegas and stuff, they have those vacant parcels that are. So bring it closer together and make the rest of it more residential, more, like where we are now, more residential and not-for-profit and, nicer looking. And make the other part more like the commercial area. So that's hard to do. That requires the town to change the zoning. And people will fight you. Because somebody will say, I got a commercial property now, you're trying to make it so it's not commercial anymore, you're going to take away my property rights. It's very hard to do. It's not easy. But you have to have a vision, and then you have to fight to make the vision happen. But we should build up with the anchor. The anchor is the supermarket and the McDonald's and the Bethpage Federal Credit Union. You got to build the anchor and make it all concentrated.
We have a beautiful library right here.
But I'm saying the library is so beautiful. This is the most beautiful building in like the whole area. Not even just Roosevelt, it's like the whole area. It's the most beautiful building anywhere. If I could do magic, I'd pick it up and I'd put it over there, put it together. But if you stretch all the way from here up to there, I can fill up all the stuff in between. So make this more of a community center type of area, and make that more of a commercial area. How do you tie this property into? Is that Centennial Park right there?
Yes,
Yeah. So tie right into Centennial. How do we slow the traffic down right here? So it's a little quieter, calmer on this part. But it's not. It's hard. It's hard to do this stuff, but it can be done.
Keep like signs uniform on commercial property.
It's the town of Hempstead, and they just stink. I mean, when I was the mayor of Glen Cove, I had that responsibility. And two big things I focused on were code enforcement and signage. In fact, the town gets a big chunk of money for facade improvements. And I had it when I was mayor of Glen Cove. And I just took $25,000 a year. And I said, listen, we're not going to tell you what sign you have to put. But if you put up a wooden sign with gold leaf letters, then we'll pay for half the sign up to $1,000, up to $1,000 grant. So the guy would get a $2,000 new sign, but if you made a wooden sign with gold leaf letters, we'd pay for half the sign. It changed the whole appearance of the downtown. You go to cute little downtowns that you like, they always have those, they have uniform types of signs all over. I guarantee most of the signage around here is illegal. You're only allowed to have a certain amount of print and a certain amount of square footage that you're allowed to cover with sign, but nobody's enforcing those codes. You see when people put all the paper signs in their windows, 99 cents and then a neon sign flashing, that's illegal, that stuff, I guarantee it. It's just a matter of having somebody enforce it. So, your interagency council here, if you did it, if it was successful, and if everybody really got into it, you had a little bit of support from people like a county executive that cared, a and you built this, you can become like, you know, the local agency for this community. You know, you bring in the school district, you bring in some of the business owners, you bring in all the not-for-profits, you bring in all the people together, and you say, you know, we're kind of like the people that are representing this area. And you say, we want code enforcement in this. And you tell them what kind of code enforcement you want. You make it, go up and down the streets, take pictures, do it, you know, but it takes time, it takes money, it takes, you know, who's going to put the time in to do it? But there are a lot of people that care in this community. They're just kind of like, one of the things I see happening is that everybody's so upset with the status quo that we have all these different groups are forming. And, you know, you got the National Action Network is doing something, and the Corridor Council Group is doing something, and you're trying to do something with the InterAgency Council. You know, NAACP is doing something, this one's doing, and you get all these different groups, and we're not all together, like all fighting in the same direction. So, this can be a very powerful, effective organization. It just requires you guys to stick with it and make sure that you're all participating. One of the things I would do at your meetings is have everybody go around the room at the beginning of the meeting, and everybody gets 1 minute or 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, no 5 minutes, which is like I'm doing. And just say, you know, what's going on with you these days? You know, what initiative do you have? Just so you can all hear what the others are doing. But you can't spend more than 15 minutes on it. You can't be the whole meeting. You know, what's happening these days with you? And, you know, everybody try and keep it. And because everybody's dying to talk, you know, and they haven't had a chance to talk, some people will go on forever. You got to be tough and let people know they can only go on for a certain period of time. And just get through that quick little thing to start with. Then you do a case of the week or a guest speaker, and then you'll see that these will be a lot more packed with people involved. So I'm sorry for talking.
I told him, you know, I gave him the whole spiel, and I'd spoken with you, and you wanted to be here, and I sent an email out to everyone. I said, do be a guest speaker.
Oh, good.
And I do allow them in the beginning, why not? You guys kind of give me some information about what's going on. So we are trying to these great things, and you know,
It's
listening.
going to be great. I'm telling you, it's going to be great. Just don't give up. And don't let me lose this race.
We're gonna stay the course, are we not?
All right, so I'm going to leave you guys alone. I'm sorry for interrupting. Unless there's any more questions.